I'm the fucking man. High and outside.
Hello, and welcome to episode 61 of High and Outside, an irreverent sports ball podcast. I'm Oz, and today I'm joined by my Prosecco-sipping co-host, MC Commish.
Yep, feeling good. And you probably see it. Have officially declared it UGG season.
UGG season is upon us. Spooky season is upon us. If you haven't already, please check us out on social media at AOK Worldwide on Twitter. We don't really use Instagram, so you cannot find us there anymore.
Spoiler
be on the
alert.
lookout. Maybe TikTok coming soon.
Yeah.
So we're going to maybe dive into that world. But you can also find all of our episodes on iTunes and Spotify or at our website, which is aokworldwide.com. You can find all of our video casts on YouTube. yt.aokworldwide.com will get you there, or you can find us on our page at AOK Worldwide. With that, MC Commish, let's rip the one-hitters. Big week. There's a lot going on.
Yes. Pow. I'll hit you in the kisser with playoff baseball.
Playoff baseball.
It's in the championship series, ALCS and NLCS. In the ALCS, Houston leads the Red Sox 3-2. I know you love that.
I don't.
Game 6 is tomorrow, which is your today. And then NLCS, Braves lead the Dodgers 3-1. And Game 5 is today, your yesterday.
Yeah, it's before we move on, playoff baseball, I gotta say, man, if all baseball was like playoff baseball, I would watch a lot more baseball. It's just like I've really enjoyed this playoff season. I've watched a lot more baseball than I thought I would. Part of it is like because the Dodgers on the West Coast, like a lot of the games are late and go super late, and I'm kind of a night owl, so like being able to turn on like the last 3 innings of a big baseball game like that, especially when there's been drama in the way that there has been in the Dodgers series, has been awesome. It's a little bit surprising what's happening with that series right now. The Dodgers were, one of the best teams in baseball, obviously, all year long, 106 wins. They won the title last year. Like, definitely had the looks of like a team that could repeat. And right now, the Braves are just hitting everything right now. And on the opposite side, the Sox, it looked like they had the Astros on the brink, man. They had them down 2-1 in Fenway, a chance to go up 3-1 with a chance to go up 3-1 with one more game left in Fenway to try to close it out without ever having to go back to Houston. The game's tied 2-2. Top of the 9th. The Red Sox they get totally fucked by a ball strike call. It's 2-2. The very clear strike. He calls it a ball. The very next pitch, the Astro guy gets a base hit, scores a run. The Astros end up exploding for 7 runs in the inning and ending the game, obviously, and then blow them out the next day. And now all of a sudden it's 3-2 Houston, and we're headed back to Houston. I'm not a Red Sox fan.
Kazoon tight.
I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I'm definitely an anti-Astros fan. So I was definitely rooting for Boston. I was really hoping for a Boston LA World Series, just Mookie going back to Fenway.
The old history of
just good teams. Like this it would be a rematch from the World Series a few years ago. And now it looks like it might be Atlanta, Houston, which I'm not less interested in. So anyway, still love playoff baseball. Wish all baseball was like it, but it also takes forever.
Yeah.
It is so long. Mm-hmm. They really have not figured out how to make baseball like a more a shorter experience, which I think ultimately will be the problem for them going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Back to one-hitters.
Regular season hockey has started, and then the regular season of the NBA is also underway. We'll have to get Worm on here ASAP to chat about that.
Yes, absolutely. NBA early, not a lot to take away early. There's a whole lot of drama happening in the NBA right now, which is like par for the course. The Ben Simmons situation in Philly is kind of a total mess. The Kyrie situation in Brooklyn is a mess. But that's the NBA for you. So
we'll get Worm in here ASAP.
Yeah, we'll get warm in and really dive into this stuff as soon as we can. But it is nice to have NBA basketball back. I was flipping back and forth between that and everything else, and you know, it's good to have it back. When we are, as you said, it's UGG season. It's also kind of peak sports season. We are at the sports equinox at the moment. There's gonna be a sports equinox day, I think, on well, not on Saturday because there's no pro football, but we're pretty close to that most of the days now. For example, Sunday we have NBA basketball, NHL hockey. We could have playoff baseball, and we have F1 and the NFL. Like it's a good time to be a sports fan.
And then about about Formula One, the powers that be have approved the 2022 Formula One calendar, March 20th through November 20th, 23 races, and the opposite of the Highlander, we now have 2 races in America. So and new car, get hyped for that.
Also, on the calendar, I saw reports that there were a bunch of reps from one of the circuits in Vegas in Austin this weekend to try and like push to bring a race to Vegas in a few years to give us 3 races, or maybe something of, a rotation amongst those tracks in America. So exciting stuff. F1 is rapidly growing in the United States. Man, I think Netflix, we talked about this before, the Netflix series, the accessibility of the sport, the fact that it's on ESPN now. There are big time like sports personalities that talk about it on a regular basis now, even as like just like podcast segments, like Please Like Pardon My Take, who, have huge numbers of podcast listeners. Like they bring on Daniel Ricciardo and, Christian Horner and all these people from F1, and like you want to grow F1, like get to those guys, and that's what's happening. And
it's got us hooked.
Yeah, I mean we're hooked. We're super. I can't wait. I mean, like when we have race week, it's like I'm more excited about the weekend. I'm like, oh, we have a race this weekend. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like I tweeted about this, I think a couple days ago or a week ago. Like weekends with GPs are a lot better than weekends without GPs, man. It's just like,
yeah,
I look forward to it, and you check in on the practices. So it's the follow up to like we're hooked, man, and it's awesome.
And I will say beyond just like bringing a second race to America and, potentially vetting a third in Vegas and all this other stuff, like you can tell that F1 is invested in bringing in, they know that there's a lot of money to be made if they can make America a big demographic for them, because this race week, all of the drivers have been all over the place in America, like busier than in most normal race weeks. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I follow every single thing that they're doing every race week. And I know that all race weeks, they're probably doing lots of press and all this stuff, but the amount of content coming out of the F1, like social accounts and on appearances on shows and all this stuff and podcasts and stuff this week because of the USGP is nuts. Like those guys are honestly, like they got to be exhausted by the time they can't wait to get to the track, I think, because they've been at they were, Leclerc and George Russell, I think Leclerc and somebody, I think it was George, were courtside for the Laker, or for the Laker game a couple weeks, or the Brooklyn game, the opening game, Brooklyn Bucks. And then I know that they were playing golf with Kyle Berkshire.
Yeah.
Like,
fuck yeah.
Like, there's just a lot happening. Those guys are all over the place. So,
and there was a podcast on their official channel that I listened to. I only got through halfway through it, unfortunately. There's been that like muttering / rumors of Mario Andretti like
I did hear
getting
this.
into F1, but they had him on, and so like he really was like
a big name in American racing.
Exactly. And if he was even able to pull some like just people who just like NASCAR, it's like he was just pro everything. He was just like it was a great segment. So
yeah, well, and like people like my dad, shout out Fred.
What up, Fred?
He's a big NASCAR fan, And we started, over the summer when the lake weekends and stuff. I was getting up on GP weekends to watch qualifying and then watch the race on on Sundays. And he was hooked. Like as soon as he started watching it was like he was hooked. He was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, it's a different type of racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the highest. I mean, in my opinion, it's just the highest level you can get to in racing. And
well, we've taught like there's that. It's a common phrase in like the football circles. It's like there's like the NFL quarterback is the most exclusive position in the world. It's like, nah, it's F1 drivers.
Yeah, I mean, there's 32 starting NFL quarterbacks. There's 20.
And
F1
how many
drivers.
like people backups also play during the year? Like you know.
But if you're saying like you've earned being a true starting quarterback in the NFL, there's 32 of them, and there's probably honestly like not 32 actual people who you would say that guy's a starting NFL quarterback. He's starting in the sense that like he is actually starting the game, but like
yeah,
I don't think anybody's joking themselves that Taylor Heineke is a starter in the NFL. Like he's not, and that's fine. He's like, but as you said, there is no argument that F1 is like being an F1 driver is probably the most exclusive thing that you can be in sports. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
It is.
Excited about the GP this weekend. Austin, Texas, one of my favorite cities in the United States. I hope to go someday down for the GP.
100%.
Just gonna be a great scene. And weirdly, we have a GP in like a normal time. It's not first thing in the morning, which I'm actually kind of bummed about. Like, there's part of me because I've developed this Sunday routine on GP weekends. Like, you have football. It obviously starts at noon. And it's perfect because the race is over by like 10 or 10:30, and you have time to like check your fantasy teams and all that stuff before kickoff. This weekend, GP I think the lights go out at like 11, so it's going to be going at the same time as football, which is fun.
Luckily, 3 screens.
Yeah,
gotta flex.
Yeah, we'll just put it on one of the other TVs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And we spent a lot of time on F1. So before we get into like the meat and potatoes, which is the NFL, your team's actually doing well in college football. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma looks really good with this new quarterback, Caleb Williams. We talked a little bit about it last week. Rattler, has had his ups and downs and been kind of, I think, a bit of a disappointment considering what the expectations were for him. And this kid, Caleb Williams, true freshman, was the number one dual threat quarterback recruit in the country out of Washington, D.C. Comes in and looks like everything you want him to look like. There's some guys that I do think that there is an aspect of like when you watch certain players play in any sport, and this definitely applies to football and quarterback. There are certain guys that you just like can watch them play and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's got it. And that's what I feel like with him. Like he's making every throw. He doesn't look like antsy or anxious in the pocket. He just looks into control. Like I know I'm the best guy out here. And, he looked awesome in his first start on Saturday against TCU under the lights on national TV. Like, you couldn't ask for more. They play KU this weekend. They're going to do all sorts of terrible things to KU this weekend, unfortunately.
That savage burn during the game last week, right?
Yeah.
When they were talking about their upcoming schedule. And he's like, and they go to Lawrence, and they're going to roll through Lawrence.
Yeah, they'll roll through Lawrence and come into they got a big game against Iowa State in a couple weeks, and it's like they should be undefeated coming out of Lawrence. Like,
yeah. Oh, no, he said then, they will be.
Yeah.
They're going to roll through Lawrence. And even the tone of how he said it was just, it was like savage.
Yeah, it was pretty savage. OU looks good. The rest of college football is just kind of it's an interesting season. I mean, we have a lot of like, it's not like that the traditional powers aren't there. I mean, obviously Alabama is still like ranked high, but they had a loss already. Cincinnati is ranked second in the country. Georgia is rolling. Ohio State has climbed its way all the way back to fifth because the pollsters love Ohio State, and despite the fact that they got beat by Oregon, who's also now lost, like that's the way it goes in college football. It's not surprising that the Riders have brought Ohio State all the way back up to number 5 now. And don't be shocked when Ohio State makes the playoff, guys. But you have some interesting, potential upcoming matchups. You got Oklahoma State is still undefeated. They took care of Texas this weekend, which I know we're all excited about. They play Iowa State this weekend. They get through that. There's a decent chance you could be looking at a really, really fun undefeated Bedlam game between OU Oklahoma State, which is that's a lot of fun for everybody. Yeah, they're going to Stillwater. Yeah. That's a lot of fun for everybody. It'll be stressful for me and all OU fans, but we always seem to take care of little brother, so it's all right. And then you could be looking at a rematch because of the way the Big 12 has set up their conference. Like, there's a decent chance that OU and Oklahoma State could play and then play again, like in 2 weeks.
It's hard to beat a rival twice.
I know. We did it a couple years ago against Tech. Well, we didn't do it last year. Last year, a couple years ago, we lost to Tech. OU lost to Texas, and then in the regular season, and then beat them in the championship, and then did the same thing. OU's done that the last couple of years. Last year, they did the same thing. They lost to Iowa State in the regular season and turned around and beat them in the Big 12 championship. So, I don't know, man. Right, it's there for the taking right now for Oklahoma. I mean, with all the other teams having losses, like, you can say what you want about, Alabama potentially jumping a team like
Cincinnati if they get a loss, for sure.
Or whatever. But Oklahoma with that pedigree, if they're undefeated, they're going to be in there. Michigan's still undefeated, which is interesting, but they're ranked behind Ohio State, who has a loss, so that tells you what the people think of Michigan.
Savage.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, college football has been a fun season in the sense that, like, there's been a little bit more unpredictability than what I think we're used to in terms of college football. At least the last few years, it's felt like it's been like 4 or 5 teams, and that's basically the only people that you think have any shot. Cincinnati, it's going to be hard to keep Cincinnati out of the playoffs if they win. Like, they have wins over Notre Dame. They have a win over Indiana. Like, if they go undefeated, I don't see how they stay out because of all the other losses that teams have taken. Like Alabama, like Ohio State. There's only like 6 undefeated teams left in college football. So it's hard to envision, like, if they close it out that they don't make it, which would be cool to see the first Power 5. The first non-Power 5 team to make the playoff, and it's funny that they're a team that in a couple of years will be a Power 5 team because they accepted those bids from the Big 12. So, anyway, that's college football. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes.
Wait. One more thing. Sound effect.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, son.
Remind the people of the don't hate the player, hate the game scores, please.
In this year's NFL team draft, Commish leads by 18 points, which is 6 games, 111 to 93. Looking at the chart, it's not hard to see why. You have teams like, on my side, you have teams like Kansas City who have underachieved, 3-3. Like, you're definitely expecting more out of your first overall pick.
Yes. You
have teams like Seattle who are, we have the rust problem going. San Francisco has been a little bit underwhelming, and then they were on bye last week, so you get the automatic L. But there's hope because Baltimore is now rolling, it feels like. The Chiefs' schedule starts to get a little bit better, and I think they're going to get going. I just don't think they're a bad team. I think they're good. I think that they'd have some problems defensively in there. Well, we'll get into this and what they have, but I think they're going to get going. Dallas has been awesome for me.
Yes, they're way overachieved.
Buffalo is still going to win a lot of games.
Yes, 100%.
The Buffalo-Tennessee game really was a shot. We were going to top.
Remember the Titans. That's why. Anybody? Yes. I hope you got it.
Don't let them get another yard. Tennessee, that was a gut punch because we were going to tie this week, and then no, because I have not won a week yet. I have lost or tied. I've only tied once. You've been dominating, honestly. But you've had a lot of Very good. I mean, honestly, your team, it's not surprising that you're winning because when you look at the teams that you have, like you only really have 2 teams that are underachieving, and that's Washington
And Cleveland.
and Miami.
And Cleveland.
But Cleveland has 3 wins, like, and their losses are to the Chiefs and the Cardinals and the Chargers. So the Chargers loss doesn't even really count because you were going to lose one way or the other because you have both of those teams.
I like those weeks, though. You're guaranteed points.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, Washington's been the only really bad team for you. Pittsburgh has been like mediocre.
Up and down, yeah.
But
weird.
they've won a couple games that you maybe didn't think they would. Like they shouldn't have won that. I mean, winning that game last weekend in that crazy like overtime game against Seattle, like winning that one is big. Arizona being undefeated helps a lot for him. 6 straight wins out of Arizona. So, it is what it is. Like I said, it's still, we're week 7. There's 18 weeks this year, so there's 11 weeks. So I have to make up, 6 games. So it's doable. It's early, but it's not looking good for me at the moment.
Just wanted to remind everybody. I need to relish in this while I have it. Anyway, let's play the sound effect.
Hey, what's the haps?
What's the haps is, as usual during football season, we're talking NFL.
Eating potatoes.
Homer Corner. Last week in Homer Corner, the Chiefs took care of business against the Washington football team. They did not play very well in the first half. We were watching together, and I was in a state of disarray, watching us turn the ball over in the red zone over and over and over again. The second half was clinical. They just moved the ball up and down the field, scored every time, and shut them out. So that was awesome to see. I talked earlier about how I don't think the Chiefs are that bad. If you look at their offensive numbers and you look at their advanced analytics, they are actually the most efficient offense in like years at the moment. If you took away their turnovers, like they would be like an otherworldly type offense at the moment. So just and turnovers are a lot of the turnovers, especially the one like they've had a lot of drops that turned into interceptions and stuff like that. Like turnovers are inherently not sticky. Like they're not a sticky stat. Like they tend to regress to the mean. And so at some point the turnover luck should turn around. And if it does that, like they're going to start to freaking, they're going to go from being a 30. They're averaging over 30 points a game despite leading the league in turnovers. And if they stop turning the ball over, they're going to average like 36, 37, 38 points a game. The defense showed some signs of life, albeit against the Washington football team offense. I left at least encouraged. I think it's the type of game where you play a second half like that and maybe it just like carries a little bit of momentum and you're like, okay, that's us. That's what we're supposed to do. The Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and we're going to end All Hope is Lost, moving on from Homer Corner.
I don't know, man. You got a good matchup. Let's just go ahead and talk about this week on Homer Corner because your last night, the Broncos are going to take on the Cleveland Browns and Case Keenum starting for the Cleveland Browns at quarterback tonight.
All hope is lost.
Dude, you're playing a Browns team that literally like almost their entire roster is on the injury report at this point. So, I think you got a chance to win this game. I think you got a chance to win this game. I definitely don't think that, it doesn't seem like Teddy's the answer long term, which I don't think everybody thought he was. I mean, I don't think he was ever meant to be a long-term answer, but I'm not sure he's the answer.
We'll see. Anyway, moving on from Homer Corner. Not happy about it, but I want to get this out of the way because the trade rumors of Deshaun Watson are coming back into the news cycle. Now, some people might forget Deshaun is eligible to play. He's just choosing not to play with the Texans.
The Texans are choosing not to play him.
Well, but, and I did a little more delving into this instead of my fake it till I make it bullshittery. But according to a Texans beat reporter, his named Coty M. Davis at COTY Davis _24 on Twitter. And he, paraphrasing, the Texans are closing in on a deal that would send Deshaun to the Dolphins, and it could be a 3-team deal that would send Tua to the Washington football team.
I heard this too. And then I saw another report that said that that was false.
Okay, well then that's good, because if you really, Gruden's a shitbag and he did nothing illegal, and he just, then a team, for the reason of his outing, because they're fucked up in this, would then benefit from a trade with Deshaun Watson and all his just, that's nuts. Well, Cody should have checked his sources.
No, I just think I think it did get reported by a number of Texans beat reporters that wasn't a rumor.
I apologize.
Or that was out there. And then I saw another Dolphins reporter, Marcel Louis-Jacques, who works for ESPN as the Dolphins reporter. He stated that his sources were telling him that those rumors were false. Mm-hmm. Again, who knows? Like, the NFL changes all the time, and when it comes to stuff like this, it can happen very quickly. So I'm not saying that he's wrong or not. The rumors have picked up. I don't really want to touch it at the moment. We'll just see what happens. As we were talking about last week, a couple of results of note. The Jags get their first dub in London, their home stadium in London, against the previously mentioned Dolphins, who, man, their first round pick is the Eagles' first round pick, and right now that first round pick is number 3 overall, and right now the Eagles would have 3 picks in the top 10. Way
to go!
Yeah, so you gotta love that if you're an Eagles fan. You're rooting for Carson Wentz to keep. Rooting for Carson Wentz to keep playing, and because if he plays 70% of the snaps, then that's a first-round pick as well.
And he's playing
pretty okay at the moment, so I think you're feeling good about that. Other results from last weekend: the Chargers getting their butt whooped by the Baltimore Ravens.
I hate to go cliche and literally follow, I guess, every other talking head and everybody in the sports world, but my God, I did not see that coming.
I mean, I thought that there was a chance that Baltimore would win, but I did not think it would be like that.
I get winning. I thought it was a coin flip, but a steamrolling.
Yeah.
Did not.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, Baltimore. It really. I will say one thing about the Chargers-Baltimore game is Brandon Staley, who's been lauded for his coaching decisions throughout this year and his aggressiveness and his willingness to go for it on fourth down all the time and be aggressive and all this stuff.
Be aggressive.
We do not need that.
I disagree. You could always use a good cheer, especially the year we've had. I can't wait till those takes get I'm tired of hearing everything that involves the public is public speaking is man, we had a hell of a year. It's we all fucking know. Stop saying it.
Well, it's just during the real heat of lockdown, every commercial was in these unprecedented times and all this stuff. Yeah. Anyway,
just saying we know
about Brandon Staley and his aggressiveness, where I was headed with a point. Before you completely hijacked it with your cheer, it finally
took the lead.
It finally came back to bite the Chargers because they went for it.
Shocked them, if you will.
Went for it multiple times in their own, in places where traditionally people would never go for it. In their own territory, where if you don't get it, you're turning the ball back over to the Ravens in an easy scoring chance. And guess what? The Ravens got stops because they're a good defense and quickly scored because the Chargers don't have a good run defense. What do the Ravens do better than anybody? They run the ball. So it was a bit of a beatdown, and it got out of hand pretty quickly, actually. And that kind of led to a bad game script for the Chargers and an easy one for the Ravens because they could just hand the ball off and take care of it. So
nobody cares about your fantasy team, but that really kicked me in the nuts.
Well,
fucking
same here.
Chargers.
You want to be kicked in the nuts again?
No.
Browns 7-0, 3 minutes in. First drive, right down the field to score on the Broncos. Live while we're recording. The Bears, had to watch their owner beat them in a game. Again, the Packers.
Fucking own you.
Yeah, a buddy of mine so I have some good friends who I'm actually going to see this next weekend. and one of them is from Milwaukee originally, so she's a huge Packers fan. And then her fiance, shout out Eric, happy birthday, bud. He's a huge Bears fan, and so there's a bit of a tension amongst the household during football season. And for his birthday, she got him tickets for the Bears Packers game in Lambeau, and she sent it to us, showing us like, look at this is gonna be someone. They got like a party bus in this whole thing. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome, blah blah blah. And then my response when she told me about it, I was just like, that's so awesome. Now Eric can watch the Bears owner play a football game, play quarterback in historic Lambeau Field. And it was just like, ugh, that has to suck, man. That guy, and the thing is he's not wrong, man. He has done nothing but beat the Bears for his entire career.
Has he ever lost to him?
I think yeah, of course, but not a lot.
Yeah. I wonder if he...
The Cardinals take care of business against the Browns. Just put the Browns to bed. And then one of the big games, and it was an exciting game. That I will say, this football season, we've had some pretty exciting football games.
A lot of missed field goals.
Missed field goals, but we've had a lot of overtime games. We've had a lot of good primetime games. The Dallas-New England game in overtime was a lot of fun. Like, two teams that a lot of people don't like, but a lot of people tune in to watch. Coming down to the wire, going to overtime.
Love the hate type thing.
Dak getting a win in Foxborough, like all that stuff. Good shit. And then Monday night, the Titans, like just Derrick Henry just putting it down the Bills' throat, basically. That guy's insane, and he scares the death out of me. We have to play him this week. We don't have a defense for him. Like, he's just going to get whatever he wants, and we just have to outscore them, which is a good enough reason to talk about this week. Chiefs are in Nashville. Homer corner, the Chiefs are in Nashville to play the Titans. Again,
Broncos are currently losing to the Browns.
We really just need to try to outscore them and hope that we get a couple of turnovers or something out of the Titans, because they're going to be able to get whatever they want on the ground. Other big games this weekend, Cincinnati-Baltimore. Surprising 4-2 Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow headed to Baltimore, take on the Ravens. I mean, the Bengals have been a great story. It's hard to envision them going into Baltimore and winning with that offensive line, but Burrow's been awesome, so rooting for him. Feels a little, that might be a step up above their class at the moment. Other than that, it's actually kind of a stinky weekend of NFL games in terms of like trying to find good games. There's just not a lot that's that intriguing. I mean,
yeah,
Matt Stafford taking on the Lions again, but not in Detroit. It would be better if it was in Detroit, because then it would be like, okay.
Just as he goes in there and just stomps all over him, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you even look at the lines this week, and you can tell like it's not a good week. I mean, Green Bay is favored by 9.5, and these are maybe not even current, but these are the lines that I had at the moment. Green Bay is favored by 9.5 over Washington. The New England's over a touchdown favorite over the Jets. Baltimore's about a touchdown favorite over Cincinnati. The Rams are 15.5-point favorites over Detroit. Arizona is 18.5-point favorites over Houston. Tampa's 12.5-point favorites over Chicago.
I'd take that bet as a trap game, though.
Yeah. I agree with
Houston.
that. Just Houston is really bad, dude. Like, they're finally starting to show their true colors a bit. Like, Davis Mills looked good that 1 week against the Patriots, but now people have tape on him, and there's a reason that he was, he's a rookie, and he was a third or fourth round pick. Like, it's going to be tough. And that talent, they just have traded all their talent away. So it's hard to envision them going into Arizona. But 18.5 is a lot of points. The game that I like, just looking at spreads and totals, like Chicago-Tampa. Chicago's getting 12.5 points. And like, I know that Tampa's really good, but like the Bears defense is legit pretty good. And if you think that they can keep the points down in the game, like that's a lot of points to try and win by if you're not going to score a lot. So I lean Chicago there. Other than that, like I said, there's just not that many intriguing games. I mean, like, it's an apple picking pumpkin patch type season or type weekend as.
What are the odds on the LA or Las Vegas and Eagles.
The Raiders are 3.5-point favorites over Philadelphia in Las Vegas.
That could be a good game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one. If you listen to Bill Simmons, or the Guest the Lions pods every week, Simmons and Sal have a name for a weekend like this, and they call it the apple picking pumpkin patch weekend, where most weekends you want to watch football all day on Sunday, but if you're really looking for a weekend when you'd want to just like appease your wife or your kids or whatever and like take one for the team, like this would be the weekend to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you just even look at the table. Yeah, it's like,
It just, you don't have the like last weekend we had Chargers Ravens, and it was like, oh, that's going to be a good game. It just, you have some weekends where you're going to end up with weekends like this, and it's not bad. I'm still looking forward to NFL football, but I just don't think that there's as many intriguing matchups as we've had the last few weeks. So anyway,
I was checking on the Broncos score, see if
7-0.
there was a change. Yeah, there's not.
Broncos have already punted after they got the ball back, so
it's looking up.
Yeah, if it's up, then it's up, and it's up, it's up.
I told you all hope is lost.
All hope,
all
of it.
Yep, just gone. Credit balance in the hope department.
So what's next for the Broncos?
We'll see. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's do highs and lows, I guess.
Yeah,
Wrap
highs and
this
lows.
Shit up like president.
So my high this week, actually, our today, your yesterday, Kansas City Sports Commission, and basically Kansas City at large, everybody who has any influence on sports or any influence in Kansas City whatsoever, hosted the delegation from FIFA today for evaluation as a World Cup host city. They put on a hell of and from what I understand, and what I saw across platforms today, they put on a hell of a presentation. They had everybody down at Power. They had the Power and Light all blocked off with tables and banquets and all this stuff and like all the videos, and they obviously got to show off all the facilities, and there were signs and posters and the front page of the page. Like, it was very well coordinated, and they I'm hopeful, and it's cool to see our city be considered like even just being one of the finalists is awesome. But I really do think we have a legit shot at getting World Cup games here, and that would be freaking awesome.
Yes, that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah. So
see a real life World Cup game.
Yeah, I don't even care who plays.
Nope, I don't give a fuck. I'll go see whatever. Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome. Hopefully, fingers crossed on that one. So that's my high. I just thought it was cool to see our city. You had the Hunt family from the Chiefs. They obviously Lamar Hunt was one of the MLS founders. And so they've been heavily, and Clark still owns the Dallas team right now. So they're very involved in soccer, and then obviously in Kansas City. So you had the Hunt family, you had the Sherman family who owns Sporting, and all those guys, and Eligs and all these people, and the Royals owner, and everybody is just they understand what this means to our city.
Glad handing.
The games would be held at Arrowhead. So, there's an aspect of that, too. Arrowhead's already committed. The Chiefs and Arrowhead have already committed to modify the stadium as necessary to fit the field, because, an NFL football field is not regulation. It doesn't have enough sideline space. So they've agreed that they would take out, a couple rows of seats in each corner. So, it's really an all-in thing. It's
mm-hmm.
And the new airport was a part of it, obviously, and all the new hotels and everything. So, really cool. That's my high. My low, we talked about this on Twitter. It's just been a bit of a crazy work week for me. So, just kind of grinding a little bit. But that, comes with the territory. But it's a bit of a low for me anyway.
I had a high earlier, but I forgot what it was. The low is the Broncos losing. Yeah, I'm fucking sucking at fantasy fucking. What is my high? I don't know. Whatever. Let's move on to another segment. Or just end, because is there food here? Because I am kind of hungry.
Yeah. I don't know if it's here, but we can definitely cut off there. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of High and Outside. We will see you next week.
Pew!